Hello and welcome to the Prog Analyst. Today we're going to be talking about the Transatlantic song Heart Like a Whirlwind. In this video I'll be focusing specifically on the harmony of the song and talking about some harmonic devices that the band uses to modulate from key to key. One of the most prominent harmonic devices used in Heart Like a Whirlwind is the idea of a harmonic sequence. A harmonic sequence is when you have a few initial chords, then transpose all of them to a different key and sequence, maintaining the relationship between the chords in the sequential pattern. The beginning of the song is a great example of that. We have the chord F, which then descends by fourth to C, and then a repetition of both those chords. Then we transpose these same two chords to A flat, so we start with the A flat chord, which then descends by fourth to E flat. Neither A flat nor E flat are diatonic chords to F major, but it is a sequence of our initial chordal pattern. Our groundedness in F major is also helped by another harmonic device, the pedal point, which is that the bass in this section of the song sustains the root note F, even as the chords are changing over it. After the intro, we have an abrupt modulation to C sharp major for the verse, and although we're in a completely different key and section, the harmony here is the same as that of the intro. We have the 1 to 5 chords in exactly the same harmonic rhythm as the intro, then all those chords are moved up a minor third just as they were in the intro, and we have a pedal in the bass on the tonic. During the pre-chorus, we have yet another harmonic sequence, and initially I thought that this was a continuation of the chords of the first two sections, since the motion of the chords is still the same, down a fourth. However, the pedal point that the bass is playing is the root of the second chord in this section, rather than the first, which makes this feel more like a 4 to 1 cadence than a 1 to 5. We start this idea in A major, then move up a whole step to B major. We then leap up to this D add 9 chord, which is a little hard for me to assign a Roman numeral analysis to, since it isn't diatonic to either the key preceding or following it. But I think it's just this really nice major sounding chord that serves as a transition into the chorus. The chord following this one is an E flat 6 chord, and usually when we see a D major chord moving up to an E flat on paper, we'd expect an uplifting feeling as the chord moves up a half step. However, there are two things that happen while this chord is sustained that creates the opposite effect, so that I at least feel as if I'm sinking from the D major chord into the E flat. First, we have the descending bass motion, which here is just walking down a D major scale, and this downward motion simply makes us feel like we're moving downward into whatever happens next. Second, we have this tension 9 of an E natural in the melody, which I think is a crucial note because when it resolved to E flat, it's moving downwards, which I think counteracts the ascending root motion when combined with the aforementioned descending bass line as well. Now we move into the chorus, which is in B flat major. The first chord is a 4 chord with an added 6, then a 1 chord, 6, 7, and first inversion 5 chord, also with an added 6. All of which are diatonic chords to B flat. The next 4 bars start out the same, but when we get to the G chord, instead of G minor 7, we get G major 7. It isn't too common to see a 6 major chord, but I think it creates a cool effect when contrasted from the minor 7 chord starting on the same root in the previous phrase. We get a repetition of the first 4 measures harmonically, then to close out this section we get these last 8 bars, in which we have this consistent F sus4 sound over a slowly moving ascending bass part. So first we have this F sus over C, then over D, which kind of gives us this feeling of B flat first inversion with the D, F, and B flat, but it still doesn't feel like a quite resolved 1 because of the inversion, and the melody here is a C, so the melody is unresolved. We move up to E flat in the bass, and we're back to another ambiguous suspended chord, and finally in the last measure of this section, the bass catches up, and we finally get a root inversion F sus4, which sounds like 5 sus, but we don't get taken back to B flat. In this post-chorus section, the F sus4 resolves a whole step up to G. So instead of acting like a 5, it's acting like a flat 7 to our new key. Side note, this section is in 7/4, split into 4/4 and 3/4 as you can see here. The first few chords are simple enough. We have what I feel to be a new 1 chord with G, a 5 chord in first inversion, then back to 1. I put no chord for this measure. I think it's just more important that the melody is descending at the same time that the bass is ascending, using notes of the F major scale, where we will land in the next measure. The next 2 measures that follow are a harmonic and melodic sequence as we repeat what happened 4 bars before, but now we're down a whole step in F major. However, the following 2 measures diverge from our sequential pattern. The D minor is a 6 minor, and then we can call the C sus and A sus, 5 sus, and 3 sus respectively, but I don't think they really feel diatonically functional in that way, especially because we don't end up staying in F major. Rather, I just think the suspended chords are transitional material as we modulate down yet again, this time only by half step to E, where we only stay for 2 measures before abruptly modulating back to C sharp for the verse again. What follows is essentially the same harmonic material we just saw. We have a verse, pre-chorus, and chorus again. The only difference is that this pre-chorus has an extra 2 measures, adding in a repetition of the harmonic sequence in C. which bridges the gap between the sequence in B and the D add 9 chord at the end of the pre-chorus. After our second chorus, we move into some brand new material, during which the tempo is halved for the song's epic conclusion. I think of this section loosely in G major, only really because of its primacy in this section, since none of the chords that follow are diatonic to the key. We descend by whole step to F and then to E flat, which I guess could be described as flat 7 and flat 6 chords relative to G, but I think the motion of the roots here is really more important than their function here. Going from E flat to B flat here is a move of descending fourth, which, as you may remember from the intro, verse, and pre-chorus, is a bit of a recurring harmonic motif in this song. And our motif doesn't stop here. We move a whole step from B flat to A flat, and then the sequence of descending fourths begins, down a fourth to E flat, then to B flat, then to F, which starts suspended, then resolves to F major. This F chord then resolves up a whole step to G to start the section again, which is the same way we moved to G coming out of the chorus into the post-chorus earlier. To close out the song, we have a guitar solo, which starts in G major, and this section is pretty definitively diatonic G major to start. We have a 1 chord, a 3 chord in second inversion with descending bass motion, then a 6 minor 7 chord. The next chord is a modal interchange, 5 minor 7, just moving stepwise down from 6 minor 7, then a 4 chord that brings us back down to 1. Again, we get the 3 second inversion and 6 minor 7 chords. Then there's this B flat chord, which ends up being the 5 chord that resolves to our new one in the next measure, E flat. The harmony here is fairly straightforward, moving from 1 to 6 minor 7. The next chord I wrote as D diminished 7 over F, which I know is synonymous with just F diminished 7, but I wrote it this way because I hear it functioning as a 7 diminished 7 of 1, which it resolves to in the next measure, an E flat chord in second inversion. The next chord is a simple diatonic 3 minor chord. Finally, we have this ascending pattern over a flat 7 modal interchange chord to a 5 chord that unexpectedly resolves not to E flat, but to E minor, which sets up the transition into the next song on the album. A lot of the concepts discussed in this video, including harmonic sequences, pedal point modulations, melodic tensions, suspended chords, and major chords descending by fourths, are prevalent throughout music worked on by Neil Morse, and we will revisit these topics and see them used in other songs on the channel. That's my harmonic breakdown of Heart Like a Whirlwind by Transatlantic. Thank you for watching. If you learned something new or enjoyed the video, please like it and share with anyone else who might be interested. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else about the song you enjoy or find interesting I might not have mentioned. If you want to see more of these videos, please subscribe as well. If you have any suggestions of prog rock songs you want to see an analysis video of, leave those in the comments as well. The next video will be about the song After Me by Marillion. Thanks again!